Welcome to Chroma Celebs. I'm Rose, bringing you the latest shocking updates on Sister Wives. Unexpected twists, emotional moments, and unbelievable drama. Stay tuned till the end. Why Cody and David should hit the road. A deep dive into Sister Wives' unlikely alliances, public sentiment, and the case for moving on. In the ever-evolving landscape of reality television, few figures have managed to polarize audiences quite like Cody Brown and, more recently, David Woolley. These two men, both tied by relationships with prominent members of the Brown family, have taken center stage in their own ways. Cody, once the patriarch of a large polygamous family, has seen his once tight-knit world fracture before millions of viewers. David, in contrast, entered the spotlight as the loving, monogamous partner of Christine Brown after her public split from Cody. Despite their vastly different personalities, approaches to relationships, and positions within the Brown family drama, one argument seems to rise to the surface repeatedly within fan communities and critical commentary alike. Maybe it's time for both men to hit the road. Whether together or separately, the presence of these two men in the ongoing saga of Sister Wives may no longer serve the story in a meaningful or positive way. For years, Cody Brown dominated the narrative of Sister Wives. As the husband to Mary, Janelle, Christine, and Robyn, his position at the center of the family was uncontested. His original intent to show the world a plural marriage that worked was bold, daring, and even revolutionary. He appeared to be a man confident in his values, eager to represent a marginalized lifestyle, and willing to weather public scrutiny for the sake of transparency. Yet over time, that confident portrayal began to crack. Viewers began to notice inconsistencies in his treatment of the wives. His favoritism for Robyn, his control issues, and his unwillingness to listen to the emotional needs of the other women became glaringly apparent. By the time Christine walked away, the perception of Cody had shifted from charming polygamist patriarch to out-of-touch, emotionally uninvested father and husband. David Woolley, on the other hand, was a breath of fresh air. When Christine introduced him to the public, he represented everything Cody was not. He was attentive, romantic, grounded, and most importantly, devoted solely to her. David didn't come with the baggage of plural marriage, nor did he seem interested in becoming a public figure. Initially, fans celebrated him as the man Christine deserved after years of being overlooked and dismissed. His quiet support, social media posts filled with affirmations, and the genuine smiles he brought to Christine's face made him a fan favorite almost overnight. But as the new seasons began unfolding, some viewers began wondering whether David's growing presence on the show might be causing a subtle shift in tone. As the dynamics changed, it became increasingly clear that his inclusion came with its own complexities. Despite their differences, both men now occupy a similar space. They are at the epicenter of personal narratives that no longer serve the broader family story. Cody, now living in what fans dub a monogamous marriage with Robyn under the shadow of his broken plural dream, often appears defensive and bitter. His commentary, once peppered with idealistic musings on family unity and sacrifice, has turned combative and resentful. Meanwhile, David, although far less controversial, has increasingly become a symbol of the show's pivot away from its roots. What once centered on the unique struggles and triumphs of a plural family has now become fragmented, focusing more on individual journeys. While this change might reflect real life, it raises the question of whether these two men continue to contribute positively to the show's trajectory or simply prolong its inevitable unraveling. Cody's resistance to change has been a recurring theme. Even after 3 of his wives left him, he clung to the idea that they owed him loyalty. He interpreted their independence as betrayal, not liberation. His anger at Christine for choosing happiness outside of his control bordered on venomous. His inability to process her departure with grace became a glaring indicator that Cody no longer functioned as a unifying force within the family. In scenes where his daughters confronted him about his failures, his defensive posture and tendency to deflect blame further alienated viewers. What was once perceived as a complex patriarch navigating an unconventional lifestyle now felt more like a man unwilling to face the consequences of his emotional negligence. This refusal to adapt or take accountability has made it increasingly difficult for viewers to root for his continued presence on the show. David's role, though far less dramatic, raises subtler concerns. As he becomes more intertwined with Christine's public life and the Sister Wives storyline, the narrative occasionally feels overly curated. While David does appear to make Christine happy, some fans question whether the authenticity of their relationship is beginning to be overshadowed by the show's demand for drama. There's a fine line between supportive partner and new reality TV fixture. By stepping into the limelight, David inadvertently walks a path many reality TV newcomers have walked before, becoming entangled in a world that thrives on controversy and conflict, rather than privacy and peace. If David truly values the serenity of his relationship with Christine, stepping back from the camera may be the wisest move. There is also the issue of redundancy. With the Brown family fractured and pursuing separate paths, the idea of keeping Cody at the center feels outdated. The show's original premise, showcasing how a polygamous family functions in modern society, is no longer applicable. Cody and Robyn's isolated life resembles nothing of the original experiment. Meanwhile, David and Christine's relationship, while heartwarming, could thrive better off-screen, away from the constant need to craft narratives for entertainment. Instead of building a new family dynamic that feels forced into a television framework, perhaps the better story lies in allowing these individuals to live their truths away from the pressures of performance. Moreover, fans of Sister Wives are not passive observers. They've followed the Browns for over a decade. Their opinions, voiced across social media platforms, Reddit forums, and YouTube comment sections, reflect a deep investment in the family's well-being. Increasingly, that collective voice has started to express fatigue. Fatigue with Cody's endless deflection, fatigue with repetitive storylines, and even skepticism about the role of new figures like David. When the fanbase begins calling for closure, it's a sign that the show may need to evolve or risk losing its emotional connection with the audience. The cultural relevance of Sister Wives has never solely relied on the drama. At its core, it's been about family, faith, resilience, and the struggle to balance personal fulfillment with collective unity. Cody, for a long time, embodied that tension. David, for a brief moment, offered a reprieve. But now, as both men represent diverging paths, one steeped in past regret, the other in new beginnings, it becomes clear that neither fits seamlessly into the evolving heart of the story. The women of Sister Wives, Christine, Janelle, Mary, and even Robyn, now seem more compelling when not defined by their relationships to Cody or David. Their independence, emotional growth, and sisterhood have emerged as the true focal points. Christine has found joy in motherhood and self-love. Janelle has embraced strength and solitude. Mary, after years of emotional limbo, has redefined her self-worth. Even Robyn, who once seemed content in her role as the favored wife, now grapples with loneliness and fractured family ties. These women, in their journeys, embody resilience. Their stories are no longer about navigating a shared marriage, but about reclaiming identity. To allow these narratives to flourish, perhaps it's necessary for the male figures who once dominated the screen to exit with grace. Cody Brown, in particular, could benefit from stepping back. A break from the cameras might offer him the opportunity for true introspection, something many viewers feel he has avoided for far too long. By removing himself from the show, he may finally confront the emotional wounds he's inflicted and suffered. It would allow his adult children space to speak their truths without fear of backlash. It would give Robyn, too, the chance to be seen not as an enabler, but as a woman grappling with her own regrets. Sometimes, the most powerful gesture a man can make is to admit he no longer serves the story and walk away. As for David, his love for Christine seems genuine. If he wishes to protect that love, to let it grow in the soil of privacy rather than the hot spotlight of reality television, stepping away would be a bold and admirable choice. He could continue to support Christine without becoming entangled in the family's complex legacy. By choosing the quieter path, he would distinguish himself from the chaos that defined Christine's past. In doing so, he would prove that not all men in this saga are motivated by ego or visibility. In conclusion, Cody and David occupy very different positions within the Sister Wives world, but their continued involvement may no longer serve the best interests of the show or its audience. Cody's decline from family leader to divisive figure has reached a point of no return. David's rise, while promising, could be stifled by the very platform that helped introduce him. If Sister Wives is to remain relevant and emotionally resonant, it must shift its focus away from the men who once defined it and toward the women who have redefined it. let Cody and David hit the road, not out of malice, but as a recognition that their stories have run their course. The future of Sister Wives may very well depend on it. Robyn and Cody Brown's former home reveals a much deeper issue. Over the years, the Brown family has invited the world into the most intimate corners of their lives, sharing the triumphs and tragedies of their plural marriage journey on the long-running reality series Sister Wives. Among the many storylines that have gripped audiences, one aspect that consistently drew both fascination and criticism was the family's shifting living arrangements. From their early days in Utah to their time in Las Vegas and later Flagstaff, Arizona, housing has always been more than just a backdrop to their story. It has been a reflection of deeper problems within the family dynamic, issues of favoritism, division, broken trust, and control. Perhaps no single structure symbolizes this more starkly than the home once shared by Cody Brown and his fourth wife, Robyn. On the surface, it may have appeared to be a luxurious retreat nestled in the scenic Southwest. But as time went on, it became increasingly clear that this house wasn't just a physical space. It was a manifestation of imbalance, discontent, and the unraveling of what was once billed as a united family. The Flagstaff house Robyn and Cody purchased in 2019 made headlines the moment the deal was closed. At a staggering price tag that reached nearly $1 million, it was easily the most extravagant home any member of the family had ever lived in. Fans and even Cody's other wives questioned the wisdom of such a massive financial commitment, especially considering the family's ongoing struggles with property development, financial instability, and growing interpersonal tension. While the family had originally moved to Flagstaff with the intention of building individual homes on a shared piece of land known as Coyote Pass, those dreams were quickly shelved as internal divisions worsened. Robyn and Cody's purchase of a lavish home stood in sharp contrast to the other wives' realities. Janelle was left in an RV with limited amenities, and Christine's house became a stepping stone to her ultimate departure from the family altogether. Meanwhile, Mary remained in a sort of emotional purgatory, living separately and increasingly detached. As fans and observers began to analyze the implications of Robyn and Cody's living situation, it became apparent that this house represented more than just preferential treatment. It revealed the collapse of equality that once defined the Brown family's foundation. Plural marriage, as the Browns originally presented it, was based on the principle that all wives would be treated with equal love, time, and respect. Cody's choice to invest in one home with Robyn and only Robyn signaled a departure from this principle in the most material and symbolic way possible. While the other wives continued to wait for their promised homes, Robyn settled into a secure, permanent, and private space with Cody, effectively redefining the structure of their family unit. The home became a haven for Cody, a place he increasingly retreated to both emotionally and physically, while his presence in the lives of his other wives diminished dramatically. This shift didn't go unnoticed. Over the seasons, viewers observed Cody spending more time at Robyn's residence, often to the exclusion of his other wives and children. The home, once meant to be a place of family gathering, became a fortress of separation. Holidays were no longer spent as one large, unified group. Instead, the family fractured into smaller, disconnected factions. The sense of sisterhood among the wives deteriorated. Communication broke down. Bitterness festered. Janelle and Christine both expressed on multiple occasions how they felt increasingly pushed aside, while Robyn's comfort and stability seemed to grow. Mary, too, admitted that she felt like an outsider, unsure of her place in Cody's life. The house, once full of promise, became the epicenter of resentment. To understand the gravity of this situation, one must consider the original vision Cody painted for his family. He wanted to live a life of spiritual plural marriage where each wife had a voice and each child felt equally loved. The idea was to build a legacy built on shared values, mutual respect, and strong family bonds. The Flagstaff house in many ways marked the end of that dream. It was the material embodiment of a man who had chosen to prioritize one relationship above all others, and the fallout was not just emotional, it was structural. Christine's decision to leave the marriage was, by her own account, rooted in the growing disparities between how she was treated versus Robyn. She no longer felt loved. She no longer felt seen. She no longer believed in the dream they once shared. The home also symbolized a deeper psychological and spiritual issue. Cody's shift from being a father and husband to many, to being a man increasingly focused on control, image, and protection. His need to establish a stronghold with Robyn was not just about love, it was about reclaiming a sense of order in a family spinning out of his grasp. In the face of defiance from his other wives and maturing children who questioned his authority, Robyn became a safe space. Their home became the place where he didn't have to justify himself or face dissent. In this way, the house became less of a dwelling and more of a bunker, a place to hide from the reality that his once thriving family was crumbling. Meanwhile, Robyn's role in this transformation cannot be overlooked. Though she is often claimed to be misunderstood and even vilified by fans, her actions and choices suggest complicity in the growing favoritism. She accepted the home without significant protest. She defended Cody's decisions even when they hurt others. She rarely reached out in visible, meaningful ways to bridge the gap between herself and the other wives. Over time, her image as the peacemaker was replaced with that of the beneficiary of Cody's full attention and resources. While the other wives struggled with loss, uncertainty, and loneliness, Robyn lived in comparative comfort, a reality that only deepened the wounds among the women. As Sister Wives continued into new seasons, the narrative surrounding the home became increasingly pointed. Cody himself acknowledged that his relationships with Janelle, Christine, and Mary were either strained or entirely severed. Yet he clung tightly to the life he had built with Robyn in their shared home. This choice reflected more than just personal preference, it indicated a philosophical shift. Cody was no longer trying to maintain balance among his wives. He was no longer attempting to salvage the plural marriage ideal. He had chosen monogamy in practice, if not in name, and that choice was rooted deeply within the walls of the Flagstaff home. But the implications of the home don't end there. They extend into the realm of financial disparity and decision-making authority. When the Browns bought property on Coyote Pass, the plan was for each wife to eventually have her own home on the land. However, years passed with little progress. Part of the delay stemmed from the decision to purchase Robyn's home, which redirected financial resources and focus. It created a situation where the other wives were left in limbo while one wife moved forward. This unequal progression bred resentment and mistrust. Christine, for one, noted how plans kept shifting and promises were left unfulfilled. She watched as Robyn's future was secured while hers was continually postponed. The Coyote Pass project, initially a symbol of unity and hope, became a casualty of internal politics and shifting priorities. It stands today not as a beacon of family legacy, but as a barren reminder of what could have been. The home Robyn and Cody purchased, in contrast, stands as a monument to exclusivity in a family that once prided itself on inclusion. The disparity between these two properties is more than geographical, it's ideological. One represents the dream of collective growth. The other, the reality of selective investment. Even now, long after Christine's departure and Janelle's emotional estrangement, the home remains a sore subject. It's not just the building itself, but what it represents. For many fans, it crystallizes the moment Cody stopped trying to hold the family together. It captures the point at which unity gave way to division, dreams gave way to survival, and plural love gave way to singular commitment. It is, in many ways, the silent narrator of a saga that no longer aligns with its original premise. There's also the question of legacy. As the children of the Brown family grow up and reflect on their childhoods, the dynamics of the home will likely weigh heavily in their memories. Some will remember holidays spent apart, decisions made in favor of one household over another, and the emotional consequences of living within a fractured family structure. The house may come to represent a turning point, not just for the family, but for the way the world understands the costs of failed plural marriage. In the end, the former home of Robyn and Cody Brown tells a story far deeper than decor, square footage, or real estate values. It is a story of favoritism masked as functionality, of control masquerading as leadership, and of a family divided by choices that once promised unity. It is a story that reveals the emotional, spiritual, and relational costs of imbalance. As viewers continue to dissect the show's events and outcomes, this house remains a powerful symbol of a dream deferred and a reality reshaped, not by fate, but by the deliberate decisions of those who once vowed to walk together. In its silence, it speaks volumes.